New afternoon show with the Chills in The Great Escape, and Martin Phillips is in the studio with me, and that was a great escape from what?
Well, I used to be a real escapist. Like when I was young, I used to write all these fantasy songs. Like our first single was Kaleidoscope World and Rolling Moon was just sort of straight out escapist pop. And got criticised for being too light. And then one day realised that I still wasn't escapist, so I wrote The Great Escape as like the sort of last escape song. But it's sort of, I'd grown up a bit by then. It was, it's a wee bit sad.
Now, we've already mentioned that the band has gone through several phases, and what were the reasons for the turnover? Any ones that might be more prominent in your mind than others?
Well, it's all been pretty much the same thing. As the band has been growing steadily, and gradually, like, we'd have to start touring more, and people wouldn't be able to cope, or they didn't want to commit themselves to that sort of lifestyle. It's pretty rugged sort of life. So it took until this band to find people who did want to be in a band and were prepared to put everything into it.
How's the music scene in New Zealand? How was it when you first started the band, and is it different now? It must be, how.
Well, I started I joined a school punk band called The Same, which led directly into the Chills in 1980. That was very much the result of the mainly British punk scene, and that inspired a lot of bands in New Zealand. There's always been a very strong independent movement, but just absolutely no interest from the major companies or the radio stations that they control. So it's been very difficult. Flying Nun Records that we were on there has been the strongest of the independents. They've probably got like over 100 releases now since 82, 81, I think. So it's still very healthy, but it's awfully difficult. Like we are now one of the biggest bands in the country, including sort of industry bands, and they still won't play our music unless they really have to on the radio.
How has the turnover of band members helped the band evolve, you think?
Well, it's made it very difficult on one side because we've only just now, with the new band, completed our first real album, half the material of which has been dated back over that 6 years of best stuff. But on the other hand, I suppose it's kept a lot of the material fresh. If it had been the one band right through, there's no way the material would still sound as good as it does. So it's been a help, and just new interpretations on Chill's music all the way through.
Right. So it's the same band, but it has new personalities. So it's expressing. Yeah. Do you think it's still expressing what you originally intended it to do now, or?
The ideals are stronger than ever. I never really had a vision of what the music was meant to be like. It's always just evolved of its own accord. But idealistically, the band is very strong. We're not going to get ripped off and lose control of our destiny, I suppose.
Okay. What are some influences that you had in New Zealand growing up? Some of the music.
Well, I suppose I come from a fairly musical family in a way, and the radio was always on, so I grew up through the 60s, and a lot of great pop songs. They've always stuck with me. I love a good song. I suppose when I first started buying records at 10, 11, there was things like Alice Cooper and David Bowie and Sweet and stuff. And that brought me dangerously near to sort of heavy metal, and then along came punk rock and saved me just in time.
Saved you. You were saved.
Yeah.
So who are some of your favourite punk bands?
I suppose still the Sex Pistols were one of the best, and the Ramones were the people I think still write the best songs. Yeah. So
the members throughout the various years, have they all been from New Zealand, or have? Yeah,
they all have. Initially they were all from Dunedin too, which was a centre in the South Island, very small city. But all the new ones are pretty well scattered evenly throughout the country.
We always have to apologise for these. There's no way to cut them off. Maybe we'll just unplug it. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more to Martin Phillips of the Chills. We're going to listen. You've got something new on a test pressing, and we're really excited to play this today because it's not going to be available at all until like a month from now, they said.
Yeah, at least, I think.
Okay.
And remember, it is a test pressing, folks, but they're not full quality. So.
Yeah, but so this is the 10th the 10th version of the Chills
Yep.
that we're hearing
This
here
is
now.
the real band now.
The real band. And it's called A House with 100 Rooms.
House with 100 rooms, yeah.
Okay. And it's heard on the New Afternoon Show. You heard it here first on 89U. It's a New Afternoon Show with the Chills and Doldrums, and that's found on the compilation LP entitled Kaleidoscope World. And which phase of the Chills was that originally? Do you remember? Or is that too much?
I think it's probably 8.
The 8th
Yeah, it is,
phase.
it's 8.
So, do you remember who's in that?
Yeah.
So, you pretty much wrote most of the songs that have.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. You do get help from other band members? Does anybody ever approach you with a certain song?
Well, at the moment, I basically put forward the bare song, and the band interprets it whichever way they want.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of have final say because it's my song.
Okay.
But in the future, we're aiming at really just working on band compositions. So
Okay. So this Kaleidoscope World is available here now as an import, and it's really, we were talking about the cover that you did yourself with some clay.
Yeah, it's a German modeling clay called Fimo, which is shiny, sort of like plastic. It's really great fun. Yeah, I haven't seen it anywhere else. So.
It's wild. It's really great. You even did the name here?
Yeah.
Okay. So this, of course, is radio, so you can't see the cover, but it is pretty interesting. You should check it out right before you pick it up in the stores. So we're talking to Martin Phillips of the Chills on the New Afternoon Show. And this isn't the first trip you've made to New York, is it?
Yeah, it is.
It
First
is.
time for all of us.
So what's your impression of it?
It's pretty awesome, really. Like, it's funny, we've been based in London this year, and going to London was a bit disappointing because everything you see, like Big Ben, they're all smaller than they look. But coming to New York, the reality is bigger. So
Yeah.
it's been a lot of fun. It's a shame we came right in the middle of the heat wave and just about
Yeah.
died.
Well, yeah. Well, today turned out
Today's
to
been
be a
great,
pretty good
yeah.
day, yeah. Have you gone to Central Park and to any of the places?
No, we've been pretty busy, but we're
Yeah.
coming back probably March, April next year,
Oh.
briefly, and then later in the year for a more extensive sort of tour. So
Okay, so we heard some of the single that you're putting out. Is there an album on the way?
yeah,
Or-
well, the first Chills album was finally coming out, probably September, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're all pretty excited about it. All these songs have been waiting.
All new material on that?
Half the best. So we've been saving up the best songs over the 6 years for the first album. So
Great.
yeah, half
So that should be fun.
it's that and half it's new stuff.
Okay. And so you'll be coming back next year around
March, April.
March and April. And we're going to listen to something else it's on the B side of the new single, Patty in My Heart.
Party.
Party in My Heart. Okay. So what's that about?
It's a throwaway pop song. It's got no depth to it at all.
Okay. So we'll just listen and
Right.
enjoy on the New Afternoon Show.